Hello, my Aloha tribe, and welcome to the Aloha Perspective, where you get a little bit of something and a whole lot of everything. Happy Thursday. Welcome to the show. Happy Thursday. Sorry, I'm a little late for those of you who come on live. It's been a morning. It's been a day. It's been a wild couple of days, and not just national stuff, but just, in general. So, you just got to do the do and take care of the things and help the brain, right? So anyways, deep breaths. Deep breaths. There's a lot. There's so much going on in my brain right now. But, yeah, I'm going to hold it in there for a little bit until next week. Next week on Monday, I'm probably going to pull out my soapbox. But yeah, I'm just a little I'm not even sure what to say. Oh, good morning, older sibling. And good morning, Muddy. Yeah, she knows. Older sibling knows. I'm really trying not to say anything right now because I don't want to speak out of anger, because anger, it reaches some people, but it really just kind of hits people's ears and falls out, right? Hits their brain and falls out. So, I'm going to do my best to just kind of keep it a little zen today, prepare something better to talk about. But I will say this, RIP free speech. That's all I'm going to say. All right. Oh my goodness. You are not going to believe the card that came up for today. Good morning, cousin. Yeah, but that's all I'm going to say. RIP free speech. Free speech doesn't exist anymore. That's right. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then you are living under a rock. So anyways, and that's okay, because sometimes I wish I did. A nice little cave somewhere. Actually, I don't like caves. I'm a little claustrophobic. But, nice field somewhere with a good tent that can withstand the weather. Somewhere on the top of a mountain. But this is an interesting card for today. Resilience. Sammy says to say what I need to say. I wasn't planning on it today. But yeah, we'll see how this goes. Okay, we'll see how this goes. But resilience. And right now, that's exactly what we need, is resilience. Because there's a lot of shit going on, and it's not right. It's not right. But anyways, sticks and stones may break my bones, and unkind words can somehow drain every bit of joy and color from my once rosy life. But nothing can ever permanently damage the real me. I love myself, I cherish myself, and I vow to remember that I'm always camped out in the depths of myself, even when I don't feel like very much of myself. These are supposed to be the campy self-help helpy cards, and I'm sorry I'm not giving them more of the oomph they need. But yeah, I am excuse me while I take my meds this morning, because I'm doing everything to try to not say what I'm really thinking. We're really trying hard on my vitamins. It's funny, I take more vitamins than I do actually prescribe things. Not that you need to know that about me, but it's always good to know that I have stable mental health and my thyroid's getting the help it needs. But anyways, let's talk about resilience. I know, older sibling asked me twice, am I going to talk about something? And, and Muddy just said, say what you got to say. I'm fucking pissed. I'm pissed. I am so pissed. I really try not to be political on my show, because I know there's other people that watch the show that don't necessarily, agree with what I say. But I will tell you this, and it has taken all the resilience that I've needed. I have been called a snowflake. I have been called a hippie. I have been called woke. I have been called a libtard. Honestly, I'm more of a centrist, and that's because I really try to see both sides. But I probably do have a little bit of left leanings right now because I am absolutely mortified at what is happening in my country right now. If you want to know what Russia looked like before Putin really got his hands on everything, welcome to the USSA. Because that's what's happening now. We have people in charge who politicize everything, and then they get mad when they're called out for it. A young man was killed last week. Not someone I agreed with, not someone I thought deserved to die. Absolutely not. Not at all. But people will sit there and say, oh, they're misguided, they're this and that. I'm on social media. I know what my own eyes have seen. I know that this person defended the Second Amendment and made comments about, some, shooting deaths are going to happen, but we have to protect the Second Amendment. I know they challenged LGBTQ rights. I know they challenged DEI, which, by the way, a simple Google will show you that the people he was talking about actually benefit in a very low percentage for DEI. White women actually benefit the most from DEI. And that's just facts. And they can get away with it because it's a woman. For those who don't understand what resilience is, a woman could not have a credit card or even really get her own credit until the 70s. Okay? So the man was in charge of everything. So for those of you who wonder why women stayed in bad marriages or in loveless marriages, that's one of the reasons why. To which I give a proud shout out to Grandma Elva, who passed long before I met older sibling. She was a single mother in the 30s and 40s. And more power to her. She worked for RKO. She worked on the famous feather dress of Ginger Rogers. And I don't want to lose anyone here, okay? Because I'm not happy with what happened last week. But I'd also like to point out that on that very same day, another school was shot up. No one seems to remember that. But the minute this young man died, the president politicized it. It's the left radicals, the left this, the left that. So let me ask you a question. If the left are radicals, how can they be snowflakes and woke people? Just for those in the back who still can't hear me, woke is a term used for decades, even over a century, to talk about social injustice. That's what woke actually means. It's talking about social injustice. Then Stephen Colbert got canceled. Not a show I watch. Then last night Kimmel got canceled. And he got canceled over comments about the young man that was killed last week. He didn't even say anything about him. All he did was point out a fact. It was being politicized. And it turns out the person that shot him was not a left woke person. Now, I'm not a fan of cancel culture. I'm not. I'm of that generation that just thinks it's stupid. People are going to say what they're going to say whether I like it or not. But here's the thing. We have someone in charge right now that some people love and some people abroad love because they think, oh, well, he's getting rid of the immigrants. He's also targeting actual American citizens. He has given approval to target people who speak a different language and look a different color. By the way, I'm only half white. And really, I actually have more minority in me than I have white. I'm only about 48% white. Okay, so there's about 52% of me rolling around going, it's a good thing I don't speak Spanish, because that would be bad. Which it shouldn't be, right? It's a language. There are a lot of people in this country that speak two languages. I'm learning French. I learned French in high school. For God's sakes, they make us take a foreign language in high school. But I guess that's a white language. Now, I don't want to make this about color either, because I'm very proud of all my nationalities. I'm very proud of my white side. I mean, God, you know how much I love my Irish side. I mean, hello. I mean, I practically, bleed Guinness. But Sibling's right. She says, I will just say we didn't realize how good we had it before. We didn't. We didn't. You see, we're living right now in a country where if someone criticizes the president, they get shut down. We're living in a country right now that is so divided because every time something bad happens, it's a left woke person. Now, I saw something last week posted by a Christian who I will call a Christian nationalist. All right? And I will cover that in a second. Who says, what's the difference? Well, we're not rioting. Just for fun. Most of the people who are out there protesting are actually peaceful protesters. But you're always going to have the riffraff who really don't assign themselves to any political party except themselves, who try to benefit from other people's bad happenings. Period. And they will set fire to things, they will loot things, but those aren't the protesters. Don't ever mix the two. Because a lot of them will speak out and say, hey, that's not us. We're trying to do this peacefully. We're trying to do this right. Okay? And then they bring race into it. Oh yeah, an older sibling. We always thought we were protected by Congress and the Constitution. You know, it's a good thing I'm talking about this today because I know this is all stuff she's been trying to, she wants to get out. But yeah, and by the way, sibling is a Republican. But she's not a MAGA Republican. And yes, I just said that. And that's the difference. People don't like being called out. There are a ton of sites, Republicans against Trump, Republicans against MAGA. Let me ask you a question. Why are they so angry? They control the Congress, they control the Senate, they control the White House, and they're still angry. But I also want to bring something else up. Last week, a young man was killed. They have an executive order to lay him to rest in the rotunda. They ordered the flags to be ordered half-staff. 3 months ago, a Minnesota representative, a person who is actually a politician, was murdered in her home with her husband and their dog. Their dog. And nothing. Just crickets. And they had children. They have children who are learning how to piece their lives back together after such a violent end to their parents at the same time with the family dog. 2 other people were also shot, I believe 2 politicians, and the person that was caught had a kill list. I don't even think I need to tell you what party he belonged to. And not the center party, the extreme. Now, I'm not going to say both sides don't have extremes. They do. And I think they're both ridiculous. I mean, they both head so far around to the other side that they're going to run into each other coming around the circle. I don't agree with that either. But I love this country, and I'm getting sick and fucking tired of people telling me that because I don't believe they believe that I'm not a patriot. Motherfuckers, I have been a patriot longer than most of these people have been voting. I have bled red, white, and blue since I was born. I used to be a Republican. I left the party. I left the party in 2016. If you can do the math, you can put that one together. Because I never cared for that person. I don't like manipulative people. I was abused as a child. Okay? I don't like bullies. I was bullied as a child. You have people out there who are saying, well, this isn't true about him. This isn't true. It's like, you know what? He does nothing to hide it. I'm surprised that way back when he said you can grab them by the pussy and they don't care, they like it, people weren't offended by that. I was offended by that. A guy lost his job for almost 8 years because of that. Just for chuckling, because I'm not sure if he agreed with him or not, but I certainly know he was uncomfortable. It's like, what do I say to that? But now we're the ones being silenced? All the people who actually can see past the lies, past the manipulation, past the Kool-Aid drinking? Forgive me for getting on my soapbox today because this was not the plan. But when the card resilience comes up, that's a big ass sign that something is not right. When are we going to stand up to this? When are we going to stop pretending like we don't see what's happening? When are we going to stop making fun of each other? When are we going to stop calling each other woke, snowflakes, libtards, all that fucking bullshit? And fuck you all. I'm not a hippie. I'm a goddamn flower child. All right? Because I'm not that political. And you know what? To all the hippies out there, more power to you. Because you know what? You're going to make the difference. Just like you had to in the 60s. I cannot tell you how angry I am right now. Because this is ridiculous. This man gives people a reason to be angry. He gives all the people out there who are hurt, who are sad, who feel disenfranchised. He gives them a reason to be angry. And this is why I don't speak up about it very often, because I want to fill this world with love. And I'm sick of it. And I'm sick of people saying, you know what? Oh, well, we're not rioting. The peaceful protesters don't riot. The stupid people out there, they're the ones who riot. And that's on both sides. So everybody, whether you're far right or far fucking left, you need to get off your goddamn high horses and you need to find your way back to the middle. Because I'm sick and tired of people fighting. I'm sick and tired of people saying nasty things about each other. Because we are not living in the country I know anymore. We're living in a divided world between Christian nationalists and Christians. And let me tell you the difference. Here's the difference between a Christian nationalist and a Christian. A Christian nationalist will weaponize the Bible to hurt other people. A Christian will take the teachings of the Bible, they will learn from them, and they will do as the New Testament tells them to, as Jesus Christ told them to, and help one another. My God that I was raised to believe in was not a vengeful God. And if you want to believe in fire and brimstone, you can unfriend me right the fucking way, because I don't give a shit. Because I don't believe in that shit. I may have a very full spirit table, but my God is not a God of vengeance. Okay? I don't like what happened last week to that gentleman. And gentleman is being very, very kind. It's being gracious. But people need to open their eyes. I had my eyes open 9 years ago. And I was wrong about a lot of things. I never voted for Obama. I never liked him. But now that I'm not blinded by what I used to believe in, what I was, feeding off of others, I see, wow, this man was amazing. This man left us with almost a perfect economy that was destroyed in less than 4 years. I see people still blaming a president who's not even president anymore as things continue to skyrocket. For those in the back that don't know math, tariffs don't work. And I'll tell you why. Because here's a little sample. Go to the dollar store. Remember how everything used to be $1? Now it's $1.25. You know why it's $1.25? Because that 25 cents is the tariff. Yeah. Tariffs don't work on other people. They're just going to put it back on us. Everything's more expensive now. The war in Ukraine is still going on. The war in Gaza is still going on. The genocide over there. Yeah, genocide, people. People are complaining left and right about all the refugees in all the different countries. Where else do they have to go? We did nothing when they asked for help. And now they're spreading around the world because they have no place to go. And what do? We complain about it. We get angry about it. One person does one thing and all of a sudden it's everybody's fault. We have to be better. We have to be resilient. We have to be a group of people who come together and start filling this world with love, because if we don't, we're going to lose the one thing that we love in this country, our freedom. Freedom of speech is already being attacked and it's being attacked again. All my gay friends, all of the LGBT community is being marginalized once again. Every fucking thing they fought so hard for is being eliminated. And I tell you right now, I will stand between you and them. I may not be a practicing Catholic anymore. I may not be someone who refers to themselves as a Christian, but I sure as fuck am not a Christian nationalist. I am not a racist. And you can take that as you want, and I don't care. And yeah, I'm pointing fingers, and yeah, there's 3 pointing back at me. Or maybe I can do it like this, like somebody else does, because he knows he's wrong. He doesn't care about this country. He cares about power. Do you know one of the things that Kimmel said that got him, taken out? He didn't even say anything about Charlie Kirk. He didn't. He played a clip about the president. Oh, Mr. President, we know, how are you feeling now that you've lost a very close friend? Oh, I'm doing good. By the way, the construction crew's over there. They're building the ballroom for the White House that the White House has been wanting for the last 150 years. Nobody wanted that. We loved the Rose Garden. Nobody gives a shit about a Mar-a-Lago-sized golden ballroom. He's turning the White House into a country club. And nobody sees it. And if they see it, they just say, oh, well, I'm sure it needed it. It needed an upgrade. No! This is an institution. It's like adding a halo around the Eiffel Tower and saying, oh, yeah, we wanted a running track around it. Fuck no. And yeah, older sibling, where are the serious consequences he promised if Russia didn't comply with pulling back from the Ukraine? By the way, he's been sending drones over Poland now. For all of you who really can't see it, he's trying to put the USSR back together. He's like a little kid who didn't get his way. And now he's the bully. And he's got everybody else falling in line. I apologize for making this political. And I'm not attacking Christians. I know a lot of beautiful Christians. I know a lot of Christians who do not politicize the Bible and who do not use it as a weapon. My mother would be horrified if she saw the way people treated each other. She had her own shortcomings. She did. She did, and there were a lot of things that I think she battled with in her own beliefs and the way the world has moved forward. I'm not sure if she would have liked the 2 new popes, the last one and the current one. I love them. I love them. I love Pope Francis and I love Pope Leo because you know what? They're bringing this church into the 21st century. They just totally skipped the centuries from like the 14, from the beginning. The 2,000 years of Christianity and Catholicism, or however long the Catholic Church has been around. They're reminding us that we're human, that we have to save our humanity. You don't have to be a left person. You don't have to be a centrist. You can be someone on the right. See, older sibling, she's right center. And I know she wouldn't mind me sharing that because she wants, why I asked her, I said, why are you still a Republican? She's all, because I want him to know that there's people out there that don't agree with what he's doing to our party. And yet she gets called the rhino. They call that a Republican. What is it? A rhino. Oh, a Republican in name only. I'm dumbfounded. I'm absolutely dumbfounded. And here's the reason, one of the reasons why Disney pulled and ABC pulled the Kimmel show. Next Star is trying to act all uppity about it. But it's because their license was threatened by the FCC. Oh yeah, who by the way is newly appointed by the current administration. Oh yeah, older sibling says there is a private club inside the White House. He gets the membership fees. Of course he does. So basically he's living in a house we pay for, but he gets to keep the membership fees. Shouldn't that be going back into the public fund? And let's talk about DOG. Right now, I can't get a job because I'm helping to take care of somebody. And that's not an excuse. That's a reality. But here's another reality. I have a pre-existing heart condition. I was born with a congenital heart defect, which is fine. It's doing great. It's doing great. But any imbalance on my thyroid could cause a problem. Any imbalance in my mental health could cause me a lot of problems. But now my healthcare is being threatened. See, nobody thinks about that. And it's true. No one's going to open their eyes until it personally affects them. And when it personally affects them, they're going to be like, oh, well, I didn't know. No, you did know. You just chose not to look. You chose not to see. I'm not attacking the Republican Party. I'm attacking the far right. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'll attack the far left because they're not helpful. They're absolutely not helpful. If you want to post what your truth is, fine, post what your truth is. But when you start attacking everybody else and you do it in the same spirit that they're doing it, they're not going to listen. You guys are just going to keep fighting. To which I say, just keep going far left and keep going far right and then beat each other up over there while the rest of us try to fix this country. Because like little beavers, we have to give a damn. Sorry, I needed some levity there. But yeah, get it? Have to give a damn. But yeah, sticks and stones may break my bones and unkind words can somehow drain every bit of joy and color from my once rosy life. But nothing can ever permanently damage the real me. I love myself, I cherish myself, and I vow to remember that I'm always camped out in the depths of myself, even when I don't feel very much like myself. So, like I said, I don't agree with what happened last week. I don't. I didn't particularly care for the gentleman, again, being nice, because, oh, thank you, Sammy. She says, no apology needed as far as I'm concerned. There were a lot of things he said that I didn't agree with. Didn't agree with the LGBTQ stance. Didn't agree with how he looks at single women or career women. Didn't agree with how he thought Martin Luther King was, not a good person. Do not agree with the fact that the civil rights bill or movement was a mistake. Yeah, these are all things he said. A lot of people will talk about his podcast, but a lot of people who listen to the podcast did not read his social media, did not look at the videos on his social media. He even made comments about gun control when people were saying, hey, what are we going to do? No, here's the thing. I'm not trying to take away your guns. I'm absolutely not trying to take away your guns. You want to keep your guns? Keep your fucking guns. I don't care. But I don't think high-powered rifles and assault rifles, or automatic weapons, I should say, are that necessary. Do you really need an AK-47? Do you really need a military-grade weapon? I mean, are you trying to shoot what you're hunting or annihilate it? Seriously. And I get it. Shotguns are dangerous. But here's the thing. Back in the early 90s, they passed a bill banning assault rifles. And I think about 20 years later, they let that ban not get renewed. And since then, over 200%, gun violence has shot up over 200%. I don't know the exact figure on that, but I know it's over 200%. I see varying figures that head towards 250, but somewhere between 230 and 250, but I don't know the exact stats. When you look at the stats that independent people do on school violence, gun violence at schools, we're right at the top of the list. Back in, I think it was the 90s, there was a mass shooting in Scotland, I believe, and England banned guns, period. I think you have to jump through about 1,000 hoops if you want to own a gun. And sure, the crazy people will find something, right? And I don't mean crazy as in mental health. I mean the people who are very determined will find something because they'll stab each other. You can't ban knives because, people need knives, right? We need things to cut with. But again, it's mental health. Not all of it's mental health. Some people don't like being bullied, and they get bullied to the point where they just go rogue. Yesterday, Dad and I watched a Criminal Minds, and or actually, I'm sorry, he was on his computer. I was watching Criminal Minds, And they had a girl who was sexually abused as a child. And so she was basically trying to live her fairy tale. And if a man didn't meet up to her fairy tale, she killed him. That's bad mental health because of something that damaged her. And all I can think of is like, wow, I'm glad I went through therapy. I'm glad I had good parents who kept me from being a statistic, because there's no telling what I could have been like. I was bullied when I was a kid because I was busy trying to keep my own secrets. I was busy trying to just put on a happy face at a very young age because I was very good at keeping secrets. My parents will ask me, why didn't you say something? And it's like, I just didn't. I don't blame anybody. I don't blame anybody but the person that hurt me. And I wonder if I didn't get help, where I would be right now. Would I be one of these people who's just been given permission to be angry about everything? To weaponize the Bible, to hurt people with it? I just want to remind everybody that there have been a lot of variations of the Bible. We don't even know what the original Bible looks like. If there's one out there, please, somebody inform me. Because I don't want to tell a lie here, but I know that most of the versions that we see now are all newer versions. And a lot of them were skewed to fit the times. My father, who's an agnostic atheist, I know, they're two different things, but that's my special phrase for him. He says the Bible is used to control people. Okay, that's his opinion. In some ways, I believe yes, depending on how you think. But in other ways, for the Christians that I know, I think they use it as a like a guide, like a guidebook on how to treat people. How to, Jesus was basically a hippie, right? Take care of everyone. Jesus, why are you tending to the whore over there? Why are you letting her touch you and wash your feet? Because Jesus didn't see a prostitute. He saw a woman. He saw a woman in need of someone's kindness, someone's love, someone's caring. And I personally, everyone says, well, God created everybody and God didn't make mistakes. Well, if God didn't make mistakes, then why are you so mad at gay people? Why are you so mad at the transgender? Did it ever occur to you that maybe God or whoever you turn your faith to put them here to see how you would act? To test you, to see if you would pass or fail? We as humans got a long way to go. We've been on this planet for thousands of years and we still don't fucking get it. We still don't. And that's sad. That is so sad. And yet here we are, fighting for our basic rights now. The Constitution has been trashed. Congress, they're a joke. But like I said, I'm just curious as to why nobody cares that, yeah. Well, yeah, that's true. As Troy said, that's the not my God ideology. My God would never do that. Yeah, well, it's like I said earlier, I think you were on when I said my God. The God I was raised to believe in is not a vengeful God. I truly believe God is a God of love. But like I said, I have a very full spirit table. I mean, hell, I talk to a volcano goddess, so what do you want? I'm not crazy. I know my gifts. I know my strengths. And I'm not afraid of them anymore. I used to be, until probably about right now, as I'm talking about this. But I'm very content with my spiritual table. But, so Sibling said, SAG-AFTRA and the Writers Guild just came out and backed up Jimmy Kimmel's right to free speech. That is very rare that they public and get involved. Oh, Troy knew. It's Pele. Yes, ding ding. Also, yeah, so, but yeah, it is very rare when they get publicly involved like that. But I'm proud of them. I'm proud of them because it is free speech. It is free speech. And like I said, he didn't say anything about the man that was killed last week. And it still disturbs me that everybody's so upset about that they're not upset about the fact that a school got shot up on the same day. and no one cares. These are children who are afraid to go back to school, and other kids in that state who are afraid to go back to school. Because here's something I didn't know. Kids nowadays, as we all know, do shooter lockdowns. Okay, so they do shooter drills. Just like we had to do earthquake drills, and back in the day, older sibling had to do nuclear test drills, which really, you think you're really going to survive that by sitting under your desk? I know, but I figure maybe that was just a way to keep them calm and make them feel better about a very bad situation that would not turn out well. Or in the hopes, it's better than to be under your desk and have a shard of glass sticking out of your eye. So, yeah, Troy's right. Desensitized to the school shootings, those aren't televised as they happen. That's true, but here's the other thing. So in shooter lockdown or in shooter drills, if one thing they teach kids, no matter what grade they're in, because this was a second grade teacher talking about this, but there was another high school teacher and a junior high teacher who said the same thing. If a child goes to the bathroom and a shooter enters the building, that kid is on their own because the teacher has to lock down everybody else. That's right. They're not allowed to leave their classroom. They have to take care of the majority of the kids in their care. And the kids are afraid now. They're afraid to go to the bathroom alone. Because if anything bad happens, they're on their own. How does an 8-year-old handle that? I mean, shit, I'd be afraid to leave my house. I don't know. But yeah, siblings right. Johnny Carson did a lot of political humor. Here's the funny thing about what's happening right now. So basically what happened is a talk show host attacked the president without attacking the president directly. And he didn't like it. So he had his buddy at the FCC threaten ABC's license, who suspended Kimmel. They didn't fire him, but they suspended him indefinitely. Now, here's the thing. They make fun of Joe Biden on a daily basis. Auto pen. Okay, the guy's not stupid. I mean, yeah, we call him Sleepy Joe, but he's not dumb. All right? He didn't sign executive orders like it's some kind of, TV event. They think Obama and Hillary should be in jail. Not a fan of Hillary. I'm a little, not a fan of Hillary. She did some sketchy things in her past, but we won't go there. But my point is that the Epstein files. I actually had someone say on there, it's just one picture. It's just one picture. No, there's a lot of pictures. There's a lot of flight logs, and there's a lot of victims. And is anybody else curious that all this stuff seemed to happen about a week or two after the victims came forward and said, oh, we're going to come up with our own list? I mean, honestly, I think the only reason he was at Windsor Castle yesterday was to get his story straight with Prince Andrew. That's me. Because we know they're both in the files. And yeah, I am talking about the files because I am a victim of sexual abuse. And Troy's right. It's a diversion. It's called wagging the dog. Okay? And it's basically the tail wagging the dog. So see, if you see something over here, you're not going to pay attention to something over here. Because guess what? On that same day that man was killed last week and that school shooting happened, it was voted down to open those files. But I bet you didn't know that. Because that was swept under the rug. No, I'm not. I used to be a conspiracy theorist. And, you never know. You never know. But I just want to put that out there because I want people to think about that. I really want people to think about that. And, I am, again, I'm not sorry for what I've said, but I'm sorry for the language if it offended anybody. I do apologize for that. But I wanted to do the affirmators, but my anger is just so palpable right now. It's just not even funny. When do we stop hating one another? Yeah, and Troy says it perfectly that that's the problem. We're not all critical thinking, and critical thinking is being removed from a lot of curriculums in this country. Gee, I wonder why. But see, some people get so tied up in their politics that they'll just follow whoever it is that it represents their party. That's why I left in 2016. And to all of the people who are still in that party fighting, it's like, yeah, but as I began to read more and as I began to learn more, I realized that I'm what they call a Reagan Republican. And honestly, I couldn't vote until after he was out of office, but there were a lot of things not that great about him. But there's a lot of things I found out about the Democrats that they have done. And like I said, I'm a centrist. But when you actually open a book and you stop listening to what other people say, and you stop listening to the propaganda on any TV, and you start thinking for yourself, critical thinking for yourself, you start to see and your eyes start to open. And you're like, oh, I didn't know that. And just, again, for the people in the back who like to talk about DEI, I'd like to remind everybody that it's only been about 105 years since women have been able to vote. This country is 249 years old. And we're only able to vote in the last 105 years. Boy. And the African Americans. Was it the 60s that they got? Or I think the 60s is when everybody got the right to vote. But yeah, the 20th century was pretty pivotal for all of the marginalized people. Yeah, and Troy's right. Well, I also believe that we also are fed what we like, what we believe in, etc., via the internet, media, social media, without objectively looking at the other side. I agree to some extent. I know people on both sides that will just post shit because somebody else posted it that they like. I have this very neat spidey instinct that says, I need to check that because that's pretty vague, before I share something. And so everything I share, I do check. Now, I admit, one or two might get away from me when I'm in a mood like this. But a lot of times you'll also notice it will disappear from my story. Because I try not to be controversial on my Facebook page. I'm a little more controversial on my Instagram page, but I try not to be controversial on my Facebook page because Facebook is mostly family and friends. Or actually, it's all family and friends. That's why I keep it shut down. But yeah, I think we do, right? And that's what I'm saying, Troy, because he says, yes, but not everyone checks and looks at that either. That's why I'm saying people on both sides have a tendency to share stuff without thinking about it, without looking, without doing the critical thinking that Troy was talking about, without, saying, hey, is this true or not? We got to be better. We got to stop finding reasons. Before 2016, there were, Republicans and there were Democrats, and then there was the Tea Party, which kind of became the far right MAGA people. And I'm not trying to be offensive when I say the MAGA people, but I have to differentiate between the Republicans and them, and between the Republicans and the MAGA Republicans. And the reason I say that is because there was a time when we could just sit there and have a conversation, and a lot of times we'd agree to disagree. We'd not be happy about it. We'd find something bad about something else. Like I said, I didn't vote for Obama either time. And I voted the way I thought was right. But when I look back at everything he'd done, I was like, wow, okay. Now, there are a few things I have a problem with, like the Healthcare Act, right? Love the Healthcare Act. It benefits me, not a problem. But the only problem is they passed it without realizing that if you show a worth of $250,000 or more, you do not qualify for the Healthcare Act. But that includes if you own a house or if you have a mortgage for a house. So I know people who could really benefit from that particular act, but no one's fixed that part yet. So they live on a fixed income, struggling because they had the foresight to buy themselves a house or have a mortgage. That's not right. And that needs to be fixed. But see, there's so much infighting, and there's so much fighting here and there, and there's so much people saying, well, we're in charge now. Imagine what would happen if both sides reached across the aisle and said, hey, let's work together. That's a dream. There were people that did that. Not a big fan of Ted Kennedy because he had a bit of a shady past, but he got better. And he and McCain would do that. They would work together. There were other people who would work together. So Sibling says, I'll post anything I believe on my Facebook page that I truly believe. I don't care what other people think. That's why I'm always in trouble with the MAGA people. Yeah, well, I know. But here's the thing. Yeah, We Are the World lyrics do come to mind, doesn't it? Or somebody brought up another one, Man in the Mirror. Man in the Mirror. Because that's what we need to do. We need to look at ourselves to understand why. But I did see a really interesting meme the other day, and then we're going to tie this up because it is going rather long. Somebody said, you control the White House, you control the Senate, you control Congress. You basically control everything across the board. You control the FCC, you control the FBI, you control the CIA. So why are you still so angry? Why are you still so angry? I think that's a fair question. As for the rest of us, no matter what side you're on, because, I know a lot of people who used to be super far right who are coming back towards the center because they're not happy about the Epstein files. And that's just one thing, because that was a deal breaker. He actually, did a huge thing on his campaign trail. I will release the files. I will release. And I think he thought people were going to forget. You imagine, what if the conspiracy was right? Just saying, what if the conspiracy was right? What if all this is just because one man is afraid of what other people might find? When and if, big if, those files are ever opened and released. I don't give a shit who's in it. I don't care if you're a Democrat, a Republican, or a freaking alien from outer space. If you're in there, you deserve to, you deserve what's coming to you. Okay? You associate with the wrong people, there's a price to pay. Especially when it comes to human trafficking. So, but people will just brush that off like no big deal. It is a big deal. People go missing all the time. At the end of the month, we're going to do a show about, I'm going to do a show about Indigenous women because I think that's time. The MMIW. Oh gosh. I forgot what it meant already, and I had it in my head because I was going to talk about it and write about it, write it down for a show at the end of the month. But basically murdered and missing. That's it. Murdered and missing Indigenous women. Because people can go on to a reservation and just steal them. And because they're a reservation and pretty much run on their own authority, the government did that kind of on purpose so that they wouldn't have to help them, unless absolutely help needed. But they get to choose. Right? So an older sibling said, Jimmy Carter did that. Wait, Jimmy Carter did what? I forgot. And Trump didn't want the flag at half-mast for him. Yeah, right? Well, that's okay because Melissa Hortman and her husband didn't get it either, or the dog. But people forget about that. And yeah, I don't condone what happened. I don't. There are kids who are going to grow up without a father. I know kids who are growing up without their real father. But to be honest, that's a whole nother story. But I'm very grateful for the father they have now because he steps up. He shows up. Oh, reached across the aisle. Yeah. So anyways, Sammy, bestie, or muddy bestie sibling, since we're doing what you call it's here. I can't really tell who's still on and who's not on, guys, but I do appreciate you listening to me, the soapbox rant. We got to be resilient. I don't care what side you're on. Let's be resilient. Let's band together and take this country back. Let's work across the aisle. Let's reach across the aisle. Okay? Because the one thing I don't like is when I hear all Republicans. Not all Republicans. Older sibling, she gets in hot water with the MAGA Republicans all the time. She's still a Republican. But they like to call her a rhino. I get called a snowflake, a woke person, and a liberal, and a hippie. Correction again. Flower child. Although right now, I am a little more on my hippie's showing. My inner hippie is showing. But yeah, I like to be a flower child. I want to put love into this world. Because that's what I think it needs. If you pray, don't pray to hurt somebody. Pray to help somebody. Pray to bring families back together. Pray to, to bring this country back together. One of the, I'm going to finish it with a mom thought. It didn't surprise me that my mom passed away on 9/12. 9/12 back in 2001 was the day where the entire country came together. It didn't matter if you were right or left. Right, left, or center. Didn't matter if you were an independent. Didn't matter if you didn't have a party. Everybody came together. Everybody. Thank you, cousin. I appreciate that. All of you guys are really making me emotional, and I appreciate that. I was angry for most of my life. And when I see some of these people who are so angry, I think, God, is that what I looked like? Is that how I was? And I'm doing everything I can to make an amendment for that. I don't want the world to be angry anymore. I don't want people to hate on one another. I don't want people to see a woman who's wearing a head covering and look at her like, she doesn't belong here. A lot of these people were born here, okay? It's no different than somebody wearing a cross around their neck. But again, 9/12 was the day that the country came together. And although sometimes I had a difficult relationship with my mom when I was younger, and she could be a little hard on me even as an adult because she wanted to make sure I was strong. I found out there was another side to my mother. And at first I was angry because I was jealous that I didn't get to see this person. That I was the one saying, well, you got to be strong, you got to be strong, you got to be strong. My mom could be very empathetic and compassionate with me. But there was a level of empathy that I didn't know she was capable of. And I learned it from a lot of people. I'm not going to name names, but you know who you are. And you know why my mom was there for you, why my dad was there for you. My father to me was always the empathetic one. But now when I look at it, I think, wow, my mom really embodied the spirit of 9/12 in her own life. And there was a lot that she did try to instill in me. Both parents. I love my parents. Like I said, my parents kept me from being a statistic, and I am forever grateful for that. So I'm not out there murdering people or trying to kill myself. Tried that enough times. But yeah, we need to come together as a country. We need to come together in love. We need to come together as good people. If you're a person of faith, be like the people they're Sammy and Jeannie. Jeannie and Sammy are two of the best prime examples of people who, go to church and do all these things, and they take the Bible and they use it to help people. They use it to build their relationship with God. They don't use it to take it and whack someone over the head with it because they don't agree with the way they live their life. That's a Christian to me. And my mom, like I said, my mom struggled in a few areas of her own beliefs, but I do believe in time, because she may have instilled strength in me, but I could wear her down sometimes. and make points that she would be. And, you know, she really did kind of, you know, she wasn't a big fan of Pope Benedict, so I have a feeling that she would have really loved Pope Francis and what he did, and Pope Leo, who again is the first American Pope. Yep. So anyways, I'm going to close this out now. But remember, be resilient. Okay? You don't have to be angry resilient. You can be nice resilient. But just be resilient. Stand up for what you believe in. We're in a real sketchy, imbalanced time right now. And I do truly believe that the tide is turning. Because people are going to start being like, wait a second. You know, sometimes when somebody thinks that they're doing something to benefit the small group, they're going to alienate the larger group. You know, and I think there's a lot of people who support this administration who might be looking now and going, wait, why are you canceling this guy? You know, we have to be better. We have to be better. And if you want to call me woke, you want to call me a libtard, you want to call me a snowflake, that's fine. But I'll meet you in the center of that with love. I'll give you a hug, because if you're calling me all these things, you probably need one. And I love a good hug. I love a good hug. So, you know, I'll hug a stranger. Hell, I hugged a stranger at Comic-Con just because they wore a shirt that said free hugs. I'm like, ooh, can I get a free hug? I used to hate hugs. I used to not like people touching me. And then I healed, and I realized how beautiful hugs are. So if you see me, you see this mug, you know, and you need a hug, I'll hug you. But yeah, I need to meet anger with love. And so I'm glad I got this out today as well. I appreciate all of you for your kindness and your support during this show, because I went in a lot of directions and I got angry, and I think a lot of that is fueled by just a lot of, I can't believe what's happening. So anyways, have a great day, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back here Monday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific time, Facebook Live, all lives are public. Maybe we'll just do an affirmator, okay, to tie all this up, because, yeah, we need something good. We need something good in this world, all right? So, again, cousin, bestie, muddy, sibling, thank you all for popping on. For anybody else that popped on that I didn't get to see, I appreciate you. I thank you. And I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful and safe weekend. And that goes for everybody watching this later. I hope you have a wonderful and safe weekend. All right. Have a great day.